Hey everybody, this is Nick Baldwin, and today I'm being joined by UFC middleweight Gerald Meerschaert, who takes on Bartosz Fabinski at UFC Fight Night on April 17th. Gerald, how are you?
I'm doing great, Nick. How you feeling?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you taking the time. It's good to talk to you again. It's been a little while, and it's been a little while since we've seen you in the cage. Just sort of talk to me a little bit about the past 6 or 7 months or so. What have you been up to?
I took my time coming back. I got like a real good professional training camp in. For the first 3 months, once I was good, I just did strength and conditioning, got my body right, and then slowly worked back into my skill stuff and sparring and all that to make sure I was good and healthy. And it's the best I've ever felt.
Yeah. Um, do you look at this as sort of like the best time frame to return? Could you have come back sooner, or did you want to fight a bit later in the year, or is April 17th just about what you were thinking?
This is about perfect. I mean, I wanted at least 6 months. It's a little bit more than that, but timing couldn't be better. I'm about to be a father. Like, hopefully he waits till to pop out to like get back home. But I'm gonna have a baby on the way as soon as I get back. So get the fight out of the way, get home, get to spend time with the family with him, and so I couldn't have planned it better.
Well, congratulations, and this is your first one, right? You're not a dad yet.
Yeah, this is my first one.
How has that been? Just like balancing that and the fight and knowing what's to come. Like how's it been this training camp, knowing that you're about to become a dad?
It hasn't really hit me. I've been so focused that obviously there's a lot of stuff I've been doing, and it doesn't affect me nearly as much as my wife, obviously, because I'm not carrying them around with me. But
Yeah.
other than we kind of rehauled one of the rooms to make it a baby room, and little things you got to go do here and there to get ready for all that stuff. But other than that, it's been business as usual for me.
Do you think fight week might be a little more stressful just because I can't imagine you're just gonna like tune that out completely. Like I would think you'll be thinking about that a little bit. Is it going to be a little more stressful, or you'll do your best to do what you can?
The way I feel right now, I think it'll be exactly the same.
Hmm.
I'm gonna think about it, but I don't really am not the type of person to get upset about stuff I know I can't change. And I signed a bout agreement. It's something where I need to fight. It's the way I make money and feed my family. So if he comes out while I'm gone, I'd love to be there, but if it happens, it's not much I can do about it. So it is what it is. But hopefully everything will work out smooth, and I'll get back and be able to see everything, and just business as usual on fight week and get ready and stay focused on the goal.
Did you ever consider either not taking this fight or asking if they could do it a month earlier or a month later, like just so the timing was maybe a little better with the baby on the way?
No, that timing is perfect. Like I said, it's
Okay.
more than 6 months out, 6 7 months, and having the fight a few weeks before he's due is probably as good as you can get as far as that goes, because I know I'm not missing out on anything, hopefully. And then because I know as soon as I'm done and he does come out, I'm going to be tied up with that for a little bit and
Yeah.
not be able to be in the gym. So definitely rather have it get close on the hand before than right after.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably is better to do your last fight before he's born, rather than
Yeah.
like fight a month after. Is the plan? I mean, we're looking a little ahead, but do you think you'll probably take a few months off at least, just sort of get accustomed to being a dad and worry about that
Yeah.
part of your life?
Yeah. I'll probably make sure that's squared away first. Like, obviously, it's the first time for me. I don't know how it's going to work out or what all it entails, but from what everyone tells me, you lose a lot of sleep and it's a lot of responsibility. So definitely want to get used to that before I jump back into anything. And not only that, but we got a big month at Rufus Sport. Right week after, well, Jordan Griffin's fighting this week. Then I fight the following week. We got another guy, Roland, who's fighting on a local show the day before me. Uh, Anthony Pettis fights the week after me, as well as a couple of our Showtime guys. Like Jeremy's one of our newer guys that's got to fight the same day, I believe. And then after that, I know we've got Laura Sanchez is in the PFL, and we've got a fight May 7th for Sergio and Rafian, our big fights coming up. So we got, a couple people coming right after that we all got to be there for and rally around to make sure we finish out the summer, or actually really start the summer strong for our gym, and then kind of see where we go from there.
I believe you said in a different interview pretty recently that this is pretty much the most amount of time you've actually known about a UFC fight ever since your debut back in, I think, 2016. Is that true? Like, is this the most amount of time you've known you're fighting Fabinski and you've been able to prepare for that opponent?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the most amount of time I've known about a fight ever, ever in
Yeah.
my career. So, yeah, I
Hmm.
think when I was just looking through to find the old bout agreement for something, I think I got it in like January. So we had
Wow.
already talked about it before that. But yeah, that's more than enough time. And really, I just liked the opponent so much. I was going to take it way shorter than I wanted to, but it ended up being that he had some injury he had to nurse and postpone it, so it worked out perfect.
Yeah. How do you think that sort of affects you going into this fight and just affects the fight in general? Like, obviously, Fabinski is known; he's been fighting you all along as well. But just you're not used to this much time, I guess. How does that change things, if at all?
If I think of anything, it's beneficial, right? I get time to build a good base, come back strong, and then really amp up the training when I need to and taper down when I need to because I have a set path and I got more than enough time to prepare. And it's not like he does a ton of crazy stuff, right? He's pretty much a one-dimensional fighter, for lack of a better term. And not saying that he's bad, like he's really good at the thing he does, but he only does about one or two things. So I get to really hone in on those skills and make sure I'm ready for whatever he brings to the table.
Yeah, you're coming off that loss to Khamzat Chimaev. Obviously, there was a lot of attention around that fight because he was sort of this red hot prospect going in, taking a big step up in competition. It was a quick fight, but sort of looking back, is there anything you were able to learn from that fight, take away from it? Um, Anything at all?
Uh, Definitely don't think I should have been fighting that soon after the fight before that because I wasn't out cold completely, but I don't think my brain had completely recovered. So that's one thing, not rushing back after you get, knocked pretty good in a fight. And, just making sure you show up because, I got a pretty good skill set all around, but it doesn't matter how many skills you got or how tough you are if you don't mentally show up prepared to throw down. And, if nothing else, that kid's always ready to fight. So hats off to him for that one.
What would you say? I don't know how many times you've watched the fight, if at all, but what would you say, thinking about it, what went wrong?
I mean, probably would have been better to just meet him in the middle or go forward. And I've talked about this before where we had a game plan to kind of stretch him out and make him reach for stuff, but you know, probably underestimated his striking a little bit more than I should have. And he didn't hit me with anything crazy technique wise. He threw just a really good right hand, and uh, probably should have just planted, stood my ground, and got in there and got busy with him. Because worst case scenario, he takes me down, and now it's I'd say 50-50 because I got real slick submissions. He's really good, like at that wrestling control, but what it could have, should have doesn't really matter because I got hit once and I went unconscious, so can't really fix it now.
Now, obviously, like no one ever wants to lose. Every loss is going to be disappointing in its own way. But I wonder, was this one maybe a bit more disappointing than others? Just because, like, I mean, we spoke just before that fight, and it seemed like you had a chip on your shoulder because you're sort of talking about how the UFC is putting you in there. Set up fight for Khamzat, so to speak. In the end, all those factors, if you consider them, like, was this one of the more disappointing losses you've had?
I mean, it sucks just as much as the rest of them. Um, I don't know that it's any more disappointing, but I think I uh, missed out on probably the biggest opportunity of my career so far. Because if I would have went out there and had the upset, even though I was supposed to be like this big step up in competition, um, I think I would have got a lot more heads turned towards my direction and helped built myself up a lot more. So in that sense, it's disappointing that I probably missed out on one of the bigger step ups in my career so far. But outside of that, it's another loss. It sucks,
Yeah.
but you gotta keep your head down and just keep going forward.
No, for sure. Looking ahead to this fight next weekend with Bartosz Fabinski, you mentioned that you love this matchup so much you were willing to do it earlier if that's what the UFC wanted. What about it do you like maybe more than other fights you've had?
I think stylistically the matchup just favors me a lot, right? Because he wants to pretty much in every fight. I can't find too many fights where he didn't take the person down. He's a little shorter, stocky guy. Seems to be real strong. So he uses attributes well as far as that goes because he gets in like a bulldog. He gets on a double leg and either finishes the double or he goes high crotch or head outside if they turn their back, picks them up and dumps them. and then it's pretty much just top control. He's fine with keeping people on their back in full guard and just trying to grinding them out and, chopping them down. They go against the fence. He does a really good job keeping his chest and head or hip level above theirs just enough to squish him down and look for that ground and pound. But he's, that's his main go-to, and he's very susceptible to submissions. Like, I think his last loss was by an armbar, and pretty good at submissions. I got quite a few of them on my record. So I think my stand-up's better than his is. I think my wrestling can hang with his. I think I can counter wrestle him just fine, and I think my grappling more than stacks up with his. So even if he gets the fight to the place that he wants it, it might even be the worst thing for him. So I think that's going to play a big factor.
Do you consider this fight a must-win scenario for yourself?
I mean, I think every fight's a must-win scenario, but yeah, probably a little more than others. But I'm not dwelling on it too much because I feel really good, And like I said, it's the longest fight camp I've ever had. Everything's clicking. I'm on right now. Physically, I'm great. My weight's great. Mentally, I feel the clearest and the best I've ever felt. And, I got all the skills there. It's just, getting in there and remembering how good I am and the skills I bring to the table so I can show it to everybody and, not just talk about it.
And you've been in this spot before. Like, I know going to that Trevin Giles fight, you kind of told me how you probably needed this one to keep your spot on the UFC roster, and you won that fight. It was a great performance. Like, do you kind of feel like you thrive in these like do or die situations?
It seems to be I do, but I'm going to try not to make it a habit if I'm being honest. I'd really rather not back myself into a corner every single time, and
Sure.
That's when I show up. But hey, if it's what works, I'm going to need it right now. So that's one way of looking at it. And I've said this to other people before that I always seem to make my own route to success the hardest route possible with the most pit stops. So I mean, it's pretty standard procedure for me, it seems like.
I mean, fact of the matter is, it's better to thrive in these must-win scenarios than not thrive. So, if you get there, then it's better to do well in them.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything like again? It doesn't really sound like you're really going into this fight with this mindset. But like, is there anything you can remember from how you felt going into that fight with Trevin Giles that you can sort of like use going into this fight?
It's a lot different. For that one, I was probably not in a great spot. Not that I had like any issues, or anything like that. I wasn't feeling down on myself. I was just, it was a lot more anxious. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm still, there's a little bit of anxiety there, right? Because I know, I got 2 losses in a row. It doesn't look good. I know my feet are against the fire right now, but I'm much more clear, much more calm, and I'm still just as hungry, if not hungrier, right? It's coming from a better place than it was for that fight. So I know if I didn't feel good and I can still show up, just the way I feel right now, there's nothing I'm like right now mentally, I'm unbreakable. And that's really more what matters. Everyone comes into fights with little injuries and you never feel totally 110%. It doesn't matter what anybody says, but if I'm mentally 100%, then I'm going to be a handful for anybody in the world, and I don't see a way that this guy's going to stop me.
Now, when you say you were maybe a bit more anxious going into that fight in 2019 than you are now, is that sort of something you've had to work on throughout your career, like not feeling anxious, making sure you're not feeling too anxious going to the fights?
Something every fighter has to work on. I remember we had a Muay Thai fighter, Kung Napa, come in, and he's probably over 300 Muay Thai fights. And someone asked him, he's like, "You get nervous? Does it ever get easier? You get nervous every time?" He's like, "No, every time, very nervous, always very nervous." So yeah. I don't care if you got like 100 fights, 300 fights, or 10 fights. You're never, you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's all it is. And as far as like that specific fight goes, I was just not processing things the way I should have to make it more beneficial for myself. I was just making it harder than it needed to be. But again, it wasn't like a huge deal. It was just that I feel so good for this fight that, I'm now realizing that I didn't feel as good mentally before other ones.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you feel better going to this fight than you did, say, 2019, going to that fight with Trevin Giles? Like, why are you less nervous, I guess?
I think, everyone's got different things that give them confidence. And for me, a big thing of my training, my quality in training and my time in training has always given me a lot of confidence. And I'm sure I trained my butt off for that fight too, but I know getting to take the time coming back, getting to like really have a real training camp where I had so much notice, where I could kind of like start with a good strength and conditioning base and get my body ready, going from nothing, letting myself rest. It's the first time after my last fight, and fighting for however many years since like 2007-ish or something like that, that I actually took time off, like not just a week vacation and come right back into training, but I took like actual time off for like a month or two. I didn't really, do much other than like some strength and conditioning, and then slowly worked my way back in. So all my little injuries, got my body right and healthy first, and then got to really focus and like, revisit certain things and just get back to basic stuff, and like have this really good set path where I knew exactly what the goal was, what I was doing. I had a definite timeline. Well, you never have a definite timeline in this sport, but more or less I had a bigger timeline that I knew I could take time and get myself ready, like, the proper way, and like build off of what the work I had done. So I think for me, that really, really helps.
As you mentioned earlier, a lot of your teammates at Rufus Sport have fights coming up. Jordan Griffin this weekend, Anthony Pettis making his PFL debut later this month. Ben Askren has the match against Jake Paul, of course. Some other local fighters, as you mentioned. Is it nice having so many teammates getting ready for their fights at kind of at the same time that you're getting ready for yours?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It definitely is not bad. Oh, yeah. And they announced that, right? Macy's got her fight coming up in
That's right.
July.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she's with us now, and having a room full of hungry young fighters, it definitely helps. You know what I mean? Like no one's there slacking off, or no one's there just like, oh, in between, just training to train. Like, we're all there for a definite purpose. So everyone's really locked in. They want to get better. We want to get in, put in some hard work, and then go about our day. So there's energy in the gym is as best as ever been.
I know Macy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she did her last maybe couple camps in Chicago, or at least she was doing more training there. Is she back at Rufus Sport?
So far, yeah. No, the last one I think was in Chicago. I forget about the one before that, but this one she's been up by us.
Okay.
Seems like she's going to be up by us for up until the next one. So yeah, and she's been in every day for the last however many weeks and looking real good. So again, another good addition, re-addition to our already stacked roster. And like I said, with all these guys got high level fights, Anthony's got a big thing in the PFL going, entering in that tournament, coming in with a big name. People are going to be gunning for him, but he's still, my opinion, is a shoe-in for winning the whole thing. And then, Rafian and Serge are both top 5 in Bellator. Serge is fighting for the title, and Raf's, just racking up another win and, staying right there. So a lot of big high profile fights coming up too, along with all of our newer guys.
Yeah. Well, we're on the topic of your teammates. One guy I wanted to ask about was Paul Felder, because I know he does, like, he's always done some training at Rufus Sport, but maybe not like 100% of the time. Is he still there? Like, is he still training with you guys pretty regularly?
No. So usually Paul comes for camps, or he'll be, come in for a little bit here and there. But yeah, until he has a scheduled fight and like knows what he's doing, he's pretty much been focusing on his other stuff. And I know he still trains out on the East Coast in Philly where he is. But yeah, as soon as he figures out, who and when he wants to fight, I'm sure I'll see him again. But until then, he's being Mr. Hollywood right now behind the desk and looking good doing it.
No, for sure. Because I know you're a guy that, like, when you sort of get the chance, you like to be in your teammates' corner. I know you cornered Ben Askren in his fight with Damian Maia. Obviously, when I covered that LFA card a couple years ago, you were there cornering everyone. Is it sometimes tough to balance when you have so many teammates coming up with fights? You have your own, so you can't really like focus on them too much. Like you obviously you have to think about your fight as well. Is that something that you find difficult to balance at all?
No, it hasn't been that difficult right now, and especially for for a lot of us, this matchup in particular, it's going to mirror the things I need to work on is going to mirror a lot more what the other guys need to work on too, right? Because outside of me, if they see someone's from Rufus Sport or see the last name Pettis at all, generally they're going to be like, oh, I got to take this guy down, right? And they're going to want to get on top, and like, because they'll they'll think it's a striking gym. So, you know, what I need to work on as far as like creating angles, getting up to the feet and all this other stuff coincides perfectly with what, you know, people are going to try to do to everybody else. And then, you know, even for the couple exceptions like Rafian and stuff, who already comes with a really high level wrestling pedigree, we can work on other things. And like we have, you know, another wrestler, Jordan Newman, who just fought, you know, still get him used to seeing what jiu-jitsu guys or like more MMA geared people are going to do on the bottom, as opposed to just wrestling stand-up, so he can better acclimate himself on top. And he did a beautiful job, was that last Friday in his fight. So yeah, it hasn't been a problem at all. And actually, I've been now, I'm the head kind of like fight team grappling coach at Rufus Sports. So it's been kind of nice to, you know, run classes and get myself ready. And then the last tail end here, while Duke was here, he was kind of, you know, running the practice itself, and I'd add a little couple of techniques we should do. And that, you know, kind of took a little bit of weight off my shoulders. So really just everybody working together. And then, you know, when I get back, if the coaches are on the road, I can cover other classes and make sure things run smoothly. So we're all making sure we're getting work put in and no one's getting neglected here or there. And, you know, we're all gonna do really, really well. And I think the kind of training vibe we have and the new, not new schedule, but the new training philosophy that we're running with right now is going to work really well.
Last thing for you, Gerald. How do you get it done? April 17th, you're taking on Bartosz Fabinski at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. What's your prediction for the fight?
He's going to come out leaning heavy like he always does. Like I said, he might try and dip and throw that overhand. Other than that, I'm going to throw some heat down the middle. If I catch him, I catch him. If I don't, he shoots. I down block, I take his neck, or I circle behind and TKO for the victory.
All right, Gerald. Thank you so much for the time. As always, really appreciate it. And best of luck to you next weekend.